In the late 19th century, 80% of Russia's population were classified as peasants. But industries and cities were growing fast. By the turn of the century, the urban population had more than trebled. Factories like this, Gutiev textile factory, were springing up everywhere. This is a tool-making shop with highly qualified workers. Their life must have been easier, but generally speaking, life for the new urban dwellers, former peasants, was not at all easy. Only in 1897, the working day was officially limited to 11.5 hours. Nighttime work for women and children was prohibited in 1885, but these laws were seldom observed. Accommodation like this one was seldom provided. Workers had to rent corners and beds in the slums, and even there they often had to sleep in turns. There were no pensions, working conditions were perilous, and there were no trade unions. But at the turn of the century, the number of strikes skyrocketed. There was one very good development in late 19th century Russia. It saw a marked increase in literacy. By 1914, 40% of all the Russian population was literate, including peasants. Between 1878 and 1911, the number of schools quadrupled. The army benefited from this too. By 1904, 9 out of every 10 army recruits were literate. Here you can see a peasant school. Very poorly dressed small young kids are learning arithmetics. Russian bureaucracy was mostly corrupt, ineffective, and retrograde. The Russian Orthodox Church never went through anything like the Reformation. Like the bureaucracy, it was dogmatic and conservative. It was practically a part of the Russian bureaucracy ever since the 18th century. It was subordinate and subservient to the autocracy. The clergy was mostly dogmatic, ill-educated, and sometimes greedy. I'm showing you the picture of a dome of St. Isaac's Cathedral in St. Petersburg, built in the mid-19th century. This is a very, very beautiful cathedral. You can see it. But there were other churches which were poor and where the clergy was ill-educated and corrupt, and their moral standards and behavior were often, well, as they are shown in this realistic painting. The impetus of the reforms started by Emperor Alexander II in the 1860s, petered out by the 1880s. The thinking part of the Russian elite deemed further reforms necessary, but they were stalled.